And my promise to St. Jude is that someday people think my KD is my final my final project. It's not. It's not. It's just yet another stepping stone to my final project. I promise St. Jude that someday I will build St. Jude, a home for the homeless and a place, to feed the homeless. People are less fortunate, because God has given me all these gifts, and I will use them to do something significant before I go meet them up.
Welcome to Life on the Rocks, your innovative entrepreneurship and motivational based show where we ask the real questions by tapping into the minds of successful, high performing individuals. I'm going to predicate to you that luck is an illusion, disproving the myth that there's a such thing as an overnight success. Get ready and strap in 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from episode 71 of Life on the Rocks with your host, Connor Rocques. Today's featured guest in the hot seat is Mr. Dario Zulich. How are you?
I'm good, Connor. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. It's an absolute pleasure to have Dario on the show. For anybody in the city of Greater Sudbury who currently doesn't know Dario, he is the owner of SWSE Sports and Entertainment. So under that banner, we have the Sudbury Five, the Sudbury Wolves, the Sudbury Spartans, which is great in itself. He is a partner with Zulich Enterprises, as well as a partner and co-CEO of TESC Contracting. And he's also, so this is something people are going to want to hear about, is the managing partner in the KED development. The first question I want to ask you, Dario, before we kind of get into this, what got you started in business as an entrepreneur?
Growing up in a family of entrepreneurs, my parents are entrepreneurs, and that's all I've ever known. And we always had a home office. My parents were doing real estate deals on their kitchen counter, and the lawyers and accountants would come to our house, and I was always watching. And so it's something that I've grown up with, and I don't know anything else but that way of life.
Right. What was one of the first? Did you start off in real estate, and then you grew into this big empire you have now?
Well, my parents, of course, are the ones that founded Zulich Enterprises.
Right.
And that was we still own the first building we ever bought, or my parents ever bought back in 1966. So we're keepers. We buy and we hold, and we want to get rid of stuff and grow. And so they started back themselves in again when I was just a kid. And from my point of view, I bought a piece of real estate when I was 19 years old in London.
Right. And that was the start. And then I remember you talking to me, and you said you flipped a piece of real estate years later.
Yeah.
And that was basically the start of your career.
That was the start of my career on my own, right? But then I went back to a family business, and in a little at a time, it branched off.
Right. And talk about how that transitioned into now, being the partner and co-CEO of TESC Contracting. How did that all come to be?
So I was at the family business, working alongside my mom and dad, and they taught me a lot. And we were expanding into commercial real estate, construction, land development, and my brothers are back at the business with us. We're all in this thing together, and there was a downturn it would have been in the late 90s, and at the exact same time, my father-in-law, owning TESC Contracting, he was looking to retire. And because I had some experience in construction and in business, and he had no other son-in-laws at the time, asked if I was interested in buying out his company. And it was a hard decision. He was on me for a long time, for a number of years.
Right. And
then finally, I went and talked to my parents and my dad, and my dad says, "Hey, listen, go out there and try your best. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you can always come back home." That was the kind of confidence I needed to know that I always had home to come back to. Mm-hmm. But of course, once I jumped in, I just don't give up and persevered, and it took off.
Absolutely, I think that's actually incredible. Like you have so many facets to your career. You're doing real estate, then you're contracting. How did it all of a sudden turn out? I want you to talk about your story behind why you bought the Sudbury Wolves and the mission behind that and bringing the community together. Because now you're a big community figure. It's nice to hear the stories behind that.
Yeah, I was happily minding my own business, wanting to grow TESC Contracting coast to coast. And we had an office in Hamilton and in Sault Ste. Marie and in Saskatoon. and always looking to expand it. And I was, again, minding my own business, trying to grow my business coast to coast. And uh, one fateful night changed my life, unknowingly at the time.
Right.
But that's when it all started. And it all started in September 20th, I think, of 2013. And that was a night that the Sudbury Wolves played the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. And it was the first game of the year. And it was a packed house. And it was a very humid night, I understand. And the ice got fogged in. The arena got fogged in.
Wow.
And they played some amount of time until they actually couldn't see the puck anymore. They had to call the game off. And by calling the game off, we had Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, fan buses from the Sioux. The city of Sault Ste. Marie was laughing at Sudbury. They're saying, and so there was one councillor at the time, Fabio Belli, the late Fabio Belli, and he says, it's time that we get our own brand new OHL arena. Right. At that point in time, that's when an expression of interest came out a few months later, in January of 2014, and I looked at it, and because I did a lot of the construction of the new arena in Sault Ste. Marie when I had an office there, when it was built, we were the subcontractors to do all the structural steel and all the concrete bleachers, and which, as far as I'm concerned, is the hard part.
Right.
So because I had a familiarity with building big, difficult projects with test contracting, I went to my partner Perry and I said, Perry, where I was going to be locating my property or the head offices, as I call it, the world headquarters for test contracting, I was going to be locating on a 23-acre block of land. And I said, Perry, I said, you know what, I would like to actually give that piece and give it to the city in exchange, because I think we can build an arena out there. And that's where all got started. And so I answered that expression of interest, said I'm interested, I could build it, and there's a number of formats which we can get that done. And then one thing leads to another. The only way to, I talked to the current owner of the Sudbury Wolves. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Right.
And he said, absolutely not. That as long as there's parking, then more season tickets can be sold. That's what he told me. Wow. And we are only 5 minutes away from the current site. So I made him an offer and kept negotiating with him. It took a little while, and that's how I got involved with the team, because I felt that the team, my original proposal was to design, build, own, and operate the building, and the more I looked at the model, I thought it was important that the manager of the building be the prime tenant, being the Sudbury Wolves, so you get to control the user experience, start to finish. And that's how one thing led to another, and here we are.
I was going to say, so I remember that years ago when you first taken on the Wolves, you started that, you're trying to create that vibe, the new era. I remember seeing those all over the place, and you look at the energy now, it's been, I think you'd said you wanted to be a Memorial Cup contender in 5 years, and it's been, what, 2.5, and you guys are, and you're qualifying.
Sure, I remember the first day walking in, like the very first day. It could have been maybe the second day after I got this big bunch of keys to the arena. And I had to meet with, all the trials, because it was in August of 2016, late August. And I had to meet with all the people that are trying out. And I remember clearly, there was, on one side, I saw this monster of a man. He was 6'9", and he was unshaven, and he was giant, and he was strong. He's from upstate New York somewhere, and he was in his 19th, 20th year, and right next to him, I remember some parents coming to me with their kid, and they're saying, "Here's my son. He's put up." This other guy must have been like 220 pounds. This young fellow was $165, and he with his parents, and he had a little scruff like my little son has right now, because my son's 15 right now. 16. Right. And so, and I looked at him, and the parents were saying, here's my boy. And it just hit me that I said, oh my God, like I'm not just the owner of a hockey team who's going to sit and have a cup of coffee. I didn't know what it meant to own a hockey team. And so I immediately recognized the responsibility I have. Right. And I recognized, I said, I got to turn that young, skinny little guy into that gorilla of a man who I was afraid of. Right? He was huge and intimidating and a big hockey player.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to take that responsibility seriously. So I sat down right away with the manager of the team. I'm a big believer in setting down clearly the mission, like what is it that we do, the values by which we by which we govern ourselves, and a clear vision of where do we want to be in 5 years. And we brainstormed that out, and right off the bat, our mission at the Sudbury Wolves is to take 16-year-old boys and turn them into 20-year-old men.
Right.
Of character. 16-year-old boys will turn into 20-year-old men by themselves, but we're going to turn the 16-year-old boys into 20-year-old gentlemen of character. And that's very important to us, that we're going to have, we're going to teach these boys in the next 25% of their lives. We're going to teach them about the values that we hold near and dear to our heart, and we're going to govern ourselves and our boys and teach them, the values of integrity, absolute integrity. Without integrity, we have nothing. And then of discipline, which means hard work,
right,
and intelligence. And that doesn't mean you don't make mistakes, but you got to learn from your mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes.
100%.
And so with these values and that mission statement, then we wrote down clearly where are we going to be in 5 years, right? And for sure, we want to have the number one thing we said, we want to be a Memorial Cup contender. We want to be the London Knights of the North. If they can do it, we can do it. So we want to be a Memorial Cup contender in 5 years, and we want fans coming out to the games. So we give them a good product, and we want 6,000 people per game, 7,500 people per game if we can. And so that was all. And then this being your charter, this is every decision you make as a company, everyone in the organization is going to be driven by this charter, right? Like who you are and where you're going. And here we are 2.5 years in. I can't say we're Memorial Cup contenders, but we have a great team this year, and I'm so proud of our program.
I find it absolutely incredible. Even your goaltender, what was it, the World Juniors? He was in the World Juniors. They won.
Yeah, he won a gold medal. He's a remarkable fella, and he's just a class act right from Finland.
Oh, 100%. I want to switch gears for a second. So something we were talking about before. So I find it fascinating. You're dealing with so many different elements. You have a sports team. You're running companies. Do you believe it's innate inside you to become an entrepreneur? Was it always you were born with it? Or do you believe it was just through hard work and persistence that you grew into the entrepreneur you are today? I know we were talking about this.
That's such a difficult question. And I ask myself that. Are leaders made or are they born? Is a leader made by the way he's been brought up, by his parents, by his hardships, and develop his hunger, or is he? That would suggest that a leader has been made, or does a leader just basically have it from birth? And regardless of your background, you're going to have what it takes to succeed and to lead. And there's examples that go both ways, and I just can't put and most people, when I ask that, they say, it's got to be maybe a little bit of both. Right. You have to have some raw ability to lead, and you're going to have some experiences in your life from which it's going to hone your skills and cause you to want to lead effectively.
No, 100%. Because again, you're talking about the charter and what you teach the younger students, and well, not students, I guess you say the hockey players. So what I want to ask you then, transitioning off of that, you've accomplished so many different things in your life, and obviously it's not about the money for you. You're not money driven, it seems, in that sense. What is it that drives you to take on these big projects? Like you want to take on the sports team. You now have the Sudbury Five. You're taking on the KD. What is it that drives you at the end of the day?
There's something euphoric about succeeding at what you set out to do, it's you set a challenge and you commit to that challenge and you succeed, and I think it gives you a dopamine rush.
Right. No, for sure.
And so maybe I need a bigger and bigger fix of dopamine, but my project's getting bigger and bigger. But it is absolutely not about the money.
No, right? For sure.
We live in a great country, great city, and a great society. Money is not everything. You have to have true love of wanting to succeed, but also what you're doing. And money, I often say money is a byproduct of greatness. So do something with all your heart, with all your energy, and if you succeed, you do something great. Money is just a byproduct, and it will flow.
100%. I really like that mentality. So I live by the mentality. Everyone's, you have your capitalist, like where it's a for-profit business. You have a non-profit business, and then the other one is, I call it a for-purpose business. The ones where it's like you're making your money matter, and that's the biggest thing at the end of the day. It's not just a drive to make money; you want to make a difference. So transitioning from that, so we're talking about different things. I wanted to ask you. I always say I live by a saying: adversity breeds greatness. So in your case, I mean, you're taking on a number of projects. You put yourself in the spotlight. How do you deal with some of the, let's say, the lash outs and the setbacks that, let's say, with the KD project, there's been so much emotion put into the air where people are saying, oh, let's not do this, let's go this way. How do you deal with getting critique and stuff like that and still have that smile on your face and drive to move forward?
Well, there's two kinds of critics. Some of them are meant to be constructive,
Right.
and they will, and that's what advisors are for. Set the course, and they're going to help you get there, and from their perspective, give you insight and advice. And you take it constructively, and you work together because you want to get to the same place. And the other kind of critic is a critic that just doesn't want you to get there, and you have to deal with it. And so it's how you take it. And if you take it constructively, even though his objective is to try to stop you, what that comment will do will somehow allow me to see the issue or the concern from a different vantage point that I couldn't have seen. And so everyone's got a different vantage point because everyone looks at it with their own sets of eyes. And so if I just take that, and if they find a problem, that's great. And I actually I say, thank you, I'll fix that.
Right.
And there's another problem with this. Thank you, I'll fix that. Thank you, I'll fix that. And then a little bit at a time, I'm going to take my lump of coal, and with this pressure that we put on ourselves, because we put ourselves on a deadline, it's under pressure, and then we always shave off this, we shave off that, we improve, and then we just shine that up with all these comments, with all these criticisms, good and bad. Yeah, shine up, and hopefully at the end of the day, you're going to end up with a nice diamond.
No, 100%. I really like that. It goes off of so Tim Grover, he's Michael Jordan's old coach. He always said, pressure is a privilege. And in your case, you're under a lot of pressure, and it's a privilege that you're out there, they're making it happen. I want to transition. So I know people are wondering, and I wanted you to kind of expand on this. So whereabouts is what's going on with the KED project? Like where does that stand right now? What can you talk about it just for the audience out there that's wondering what's happening?
The KED is alive and well.
Right.
It has just been stalled for a little while.
Right.
And but it's a project that makes incredible sense for our city.
100%.
And I think it's spectacular, and I think it's going to change our city for generations to come. And so it is alive and well. But with every project and with every journey, the path is not always straight. And along that path, as long as you keep from a distance, you see the end game. Everyone's gonna encounter a little bit of a hiccup, a bump in the road, and so and you have to know it's coming, and there'll be another one, and there'll be another one, and you just got to know that you have to have the confidence in your ability and at the end game, and the reasons for the end game. You have confidence in your ability to overcome those problems as they come.
Right. I think that's actually a great answer. I want to ask you then, transitioning off that, where did you develop such great strategy skills? You come, and that's one thing we were talking about yesterday. Now that I've had the time, or had a lot of time to be able to sit down and talk to you, you're a great strategist and you're humble in your approach. You're not a cocky guy that's coming up and say, "Oh no, I'm taking on the world to do this." You do it in a very humble way. Where did you develop such good business and strategy skills to maneuver? And when you take hits and say, "Okay, it might stall, but we're going to come back this way."
Well, a lot of it comes from experience, for sure.
Right.
So we are not born with experience or intelligence. So through trial and error, if you do this, it doesn't work. You do this, you try this, and so through trial and error, through life, and that experience, and this determination to this complete determination. You have to be consumed with winning. And with winning means accomplishing your goal, and with that sort of passion, this intoxication, this obsession with getting it done, all you do is you keep thinking, and it's like playing a game of chess. I played a lot of chess. I still do when I'm bored at the airport, and I will pull up and I'll play a game of chess because it forces you to think of all your options and forces you to think of what your competitors doing against you. And if you do this, what if they do this? If you do this, what if they do this? And there's only so many moves into the future that you can figure out, and it just because there's so many combinations, and so it makes you, and you have to also recognize that if you do something, you gotta get ready for your opponent to do something different, to counteract that because he's just as passionate as you are, and so given these experiences, given this passion for the end game, and I have to say though, I call it a game. Of course, I don't want to say it's not serious. It's serious.
No, for sure.
But whenever we play, I make sure that you have to play fair.
100%.
That's the one thing. There's really no satisfaction in playing a game of chess or playing a game of hockey or in business to actually succeed and not doing it by the rules. And that dopamine rush is just not the same. I remember speaking a few times to some of the Sudbury Wolves playing, and they said, "Well, at the end of the day, what's your end game?" And they said, "We want the World Cup." So I get the World Cup, and I'll go get it, and I'll make an exact replica of it. I'll give you one each, no problem. Mm-hmm. Well, that wasn't any good. And then we want we want the World Cup. I'll even make it better. I'll make it out of silver. I'll gold plated. No, not good enough. No, we want the World Cup. I said, okay, so you want to get the World Cup? I can get you them. I can make you. We want to win the World Cup. And I said, I can get you to win it. You know what? I could go there and I could maybe talk to some of the owners of other teams, and they can just dog it and throw a few games, and we can win it. Or you're right, I could go talk to a referee and make a few bad calls on the other team. All of a sudden, no difference. When you're going to win it, does that make you feel we'll get the win? And they said, no, we want to win fairly. And I said, that's exactly right. No one wants to be given a victory. You want to earn it. And the dopamine rush, the sense of pride and satisfaction that comes from truly achieving fairly is that rush that we're all searching for. And along with that, though, we'll have to get ready. There's only one winner, right? And there's only one winner. That means for every winner, there's losers, and losing of the game. No one's a loser, but and so at the end of the day, if you're that committed, that passion is the agony of defeat, it's gonna crush you, and it'll crush you in business. And so you just gotta know that there's always gonna be another year, there's always gonna be another game, and move forward. So you can't let that completely destroy you.
You're right. Yeah. How do you? So in your case, I mean, you're obviously in a lot of situations where you might have fear, like a normal person would have fear. How do you overcome fear? Do you have any techniques in your mind, or anything you use to kind of put you into the zone and say, okay, well, this could go this way, like as you're strategizing? Do you have any techniques to overcome fear?
Well, first off, I believe. You have to believe in what you're doing. Right. And but notwithstanding that belief in your plan forward, you're always there's going to be apprehension and fear that could actually paralyze you. And that I often repeat to myself, fear or the other way around. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is continuing forward in the presence of fear, right? And so you need to be courageous and be confident in your ability that you can plan out 100 different chess moves into the future, 100 different routes to the top of Kilimanjaro, right? You have to have a plan, and you have to have a goal, but you also have the ability to know that on your way, that plan is going to change. Right. And when it changes, when you find something that you weren't expecting, then whether it be a tree over your path that you charted, or a big crack in the ice, on the way to the top of the mountain, you're going to have to know that when you encounter whatever you encounter, you're going to need to have confidence in your ability to, at that time, look at it and figure out how to get under it, around it, through it, over it, to overcome. And that's at the end of the day, that comes from confidence, and it comes from
experience.
Yeah, experience.
Building, yeah. No, I think that's actually a great approach, because that's one of the biggest things I deal with a lot of students. So we see that it's like, how can you overcome those fears? So for you, you're doing a lot of public speaking. You're out getting critiqued in the public eye. Sometimes it can be crippling for some people. So what I wanted to ask you, this is actually going to change it up a little bit. So I have a theory. So Abraham Maslow designed a theory he termed the hierarchy of needs. Everybody remembers it from high school. Top of the pyramid is self-actualization. Later on in his career, he discovered there was actually a sixth element called self-transcendence, which means giving of yourself, so giving yourself to others. So I want you to talk about the importance of giving back and giving back in the community and how that's tied into your life. Because you're a giver, I can tell you, and you don't expect anything in return.
Exactly. The key has to be, I believe in the boomerang effect. What you give comes back.
Right.
But you have to give without the expectation of it coming back. So you can give freely and with no expectation. Because if you expect something back, that's called business. I'm going to give something, I'll get money back in return. Give a service, get money back in return. That's business. There's a deal. But if you truly give without any expectation of something back, it'll actually, and if you have joy in giving that, it's actually, I often say to myself, if you truly enjoy giving, and by giving it brings you happiness, giving is actually an act of selfishness, right? Which is actually,
Feed the dopamine.
Yeah, and sometimes that made me think, I shake my head, so I can go back in a little.
Right.
But I really do believe that you have to give, and you have to give money, and you have to give time, 100%. Right? And time is an important thing. I know there are a lot of people. There are all kinds of. Everyone's got a different amount of money, but everyone's got the same amount of time, and so it doesn't matter where you come from or where you are in terms of your net worth. We only have 24 hours a day. And so when you give some time, that's valuable. So you have to give time, and I believe in giving, and I truly believe in it, and I believe it comes back. That boomerang effect, I remember driving once with my son, and I said, Jack, check this out. Whatever you give, it comes back. And so we're following this bus, and I remember near Science North, and there was a little kid looking out the back of the bus, and I waved, and he waved back. And I smiled back. I stuck out my tongue and stuck his tongue back out of me. I said, see that, Jack, whatever you do comes back to you, right? And whenever I say, Jack, I love you, he says he loves me back. Right. That's just how it works, right? And the other day I went over to Starbucks, and I opened the door, because I bumped into a guy right at the exact same time. And I will always open a door for him. He says, thank you, sir. He walks inside, he opens the vestibule door for me. It's unbelievable. And so what you give comes back, and it comes back in spades. And so, so I've always lived that way, and I'm a giver. And I think deep down, spiritually, I want to give back with the gifts that God's bestowed on me. Right? He's given me some gifts. He's given everyone gifts. With the gifts He's given me, I want to be able to use them and to give them back. I did a little session this morning with Sunriser Rotary Club, and they said, why are you doing KD? And it's not for the money. Just like a master shoemaker makes the best shoes in the world. He's not doing it for the money. He's doing it because he loves making shoes. Or a master cook. He does it because he loves to cook, not to become a billionaire or something like that. He's doing it because he gets the satisfaction of doing something great. So I'm not doing the KED to make money, right? Money is a byproduct of doing something great. Right. It has to be great, and money will come back, but it's not for that. And so then they said, so why are you doing KD? Well, I want to make greater Sudbury greater. And there's a number of ways in which we can do that. This is how I choose to do that with the gifts God's given me. And right. So now someone says, well, then you can keep asking questions, why? So why do you want to make greater Sudbury greater? And it took me a while, and then this morning at the Rotary Club, I put up a little cartoon I found on the internet, which I read often, and it says, a Greek proverb, wise men plant trees in the shade of which they know they will never sit, and so we all should be trying to build something, knowing that we'll never truly sit in that shade, reap the fruits from that tree fully, but generations to come will. And in the bottom of that cartoon it says, "Thanks, Dad." And you know what? I keep thinking of my children, right? And if we can all think like that, we all do in a big way, in a small way. We make this place a better place, happier place, a more peaceful place. We've used our skills for what He wanted us to use them for.
I honestly believe that's a great perspective to look at life from that way. Some people have some cynical approach. So going off of that point, what's your advice to the younger generation? Obviously, we're exposed to cell phones and everything's in our face all the time, and it's kind of somewhat, it seems like it's a lot of ego in this generation. What's your advice to the younger generation coming up, just in general, to have those life skills and stay humble?
Well, I too now somehow been, attached to my cell phone, and I've been, and I'm using it. I'm looking at things all the time. But the advice I can give is that it's a tool, but we can't let it consume us or have it take priority because it's more fun. Take priority over other things more important to do. You can't use it as a reason to procrastinate, and so you got to use it as a tool. Recognize that it could actually consume your time. And we already said time is only limited. So do not procrastinate. Do what you got to do, and then look at that. After the important things are done, and so I believe in, like I said, my second value that I cherish. The first is complete honesty, integrity, and the secret to truly to true happiness is just living an honest life of integrity. And we've all made mistakes, including me, and I've learned from that. And so I'm gonna, everything you say, everything you do is with the right intent and completely honest. And there's a feeling of liberty with that. But the second one is discipline, which is hard work, and that discipline, or not procrastinating, the discipline to do what you have to do, set your goal and do it, has to be exercised. And I exercise that discipline, whether it be, for sure, ever since I was a kid, I've exercised that discipline for the 45 days of Lent. Right, and those 6 weeks or so before Easter, I've often given something up, and you don't give something up that you don't want, you give up a cold shower, right, but you can give something that you really want, and it requires, and no one could put a gun to your head saying you're not going to do it, and no one's in control but yourself, and you need to exercise that muscle, and by having self-discipline, by self-denial, it gives you an appreciation for that at the end of Easter. Let me tell you, if you give up chocolate, for instance, if you're a chocolate lover, you're going to get Easter, and you have an appreciation for that chocolate come Easter, and you'll have an appreciation for that and all kinds of other things. There's a liberty at the end of it. So discipline is important, and so be disciplined to put that phone down and to manage your hours on it and be true to yourself.
No, I believe that's actually a really good perspective too. The discipline, I think, that's what the generation, everyone says, the millennial generation's bad, but it's the discipline piece we need to have. It's like we get everything so fast. I find that's living in it. It's the same thing. It's like you get caught up on Facebook, Instagram, or something. That's actually a great approach.
And let me tell you, there's no one is perfect, right? Like no one is 100% honest. No one is 100% disciplined, or no one is 100% genius. No one is perfect. We all have to know and get better at it. Myself included. I'm not in the best shape I should be in, and that's all discipline.
Right.
And we all have weaknesses, and we have to identify them and be disciplined about them.
No, 100%. And some people would say, in this generation, so the millennials, Generation Z, are kind of loose, with career advice. We're going, I want to be a doctor. Then you want to do something else. Do you believe, how do you find, in my industry that I'm in, personal development, everyone's talking about a niche. Do you feel like someone should have a niche, or how do you find that niche if you need to have it in business?
I went to the business school at Western, and so again, I'm big on, the strategy, the vision, mission statements, so I've sort of condensed it with my experience in terms of to move forward, you need to completely understand who you are, your strengths and your weaknesses. So you can capitalize your strengths, but you know everyone's got a weakness. So work on your weaknesses, make yourself well-rounded. That's on yourself. That's called SWOT analysis.
Right.
So that's who you are. You need to figure out where you're going. So you need a clear understanding of where you're going, whether it be personally or in a company or on a hockey team or whatever. This is where you're going. Okay, but that just knowing who you are and where you're going is not in itself, right? What you then have to do, if you're a business, you need to identify the value proposition to your customers. So, what is it that customer wants to use you for, as opposed to doing it themselves? If they can do what you do themselves, they're not going to buy your product or service. If they can do it better than you, for sure they're not going to. And so they're going to want, you need to identify what can you do for them, which is identify what can I do for you, which is giving. And if I can do that better for you, if they find value, they're going to hire you. Then of course, if that customer, if you're the only person that can provide a customer, then you've got a monopoly and you're off the races, right? But monopolies don't exist, or they don't forever, right? There's always competition. There's always someone that's looking over their shoulder, looking at the competition and learning. And they're going to learn, and you always learn by chasing the guy in front of you, all right? And so they're going to see what you're doing, and they're going to mimic you. And then they're going to try to do better than you to get that customer. And so you need to understand your value proposition firstly, and second, you need to understand, you need to define your sustainable competitive, find your sustainable competitive advantage. You need to, that has to be sustainable. And if you're a leading edge company and your competitors are always mimicking you, then you got to continually innovate, continually get better, and continually be innovative. It's hard to be the leader. And so as a student, that is sort of like a niche market. If you can find an area that's different from your competitors, but something that your customers want, and that's what we have to do. Whether we do it and find a job, if these young folks want to find a job, or if they're going to start a company and deliver a product or service.
Right. I was going to ask you, so if I was sitting next to you to, let's say, to interview to go into your company, what are some of the things you would look for in a student? So I use an ideology or an analogy where I studied law. A lot of people had a similar resume. We had the same LSAT score, same marks in school. What would distinguish someone to you if I was to sit across to say, hey, like to get or let's say I got into the interview and then sit across, what would you look for if you had a lot of the similar resumes in front of you?
Yeah, because it's not all about marks.
No, 100%.
And I can tell you that my mark was not at all the highest getting into Western Business School. It was the actual lowest.
Right.
My mark was, did I ever tell that story? I mean, absolutely the lowest mark ever accepted in. And so it's not about marks. The highest marks aren't what's going to land you that one job out of 300 applicants, right? And so when I'm interviewing someone, I would for sure try to understand their technical skills, and that would be the schooling and the marks they got, so they understand technical. And then I would look at their experience, because experience is a form of education as well. Look at the experience, and then but then I often ask different kinds of questions that my HR department say are off the wall. But I often ask the interviewees. I ask them, what does your mom and dad do?
I want to see some context.
How did you grow up?
Right.
Because let me tell you, a lot of what you are today are what your mom and dad taught you from, age 0 to age 16.
Right.
And so what do your mom and dad do? And you, like me, I grew up an entrepreneur because of my mom and dad, right? And the value systems are going to be there from your mom and dad. So I try to get into their personal lives with that. Mm-hmm. Always respectful. I won't dig too deep. I ask them, were they born first, second, or third? Because I'm just trying to make that's a personal thing. I'm trying to figure out, again, what's the definition of
who's the punching bag?
The entrepreneurs and so on. And then I would ask if they ever played sports, because sports are a means by which you compete for a goal, and there's discipline and training, and even if they don't compete in sport, they must do something that I'm trying to find some activity, a hobby, or something that needs discipline, right?
Right.
So setting a goal and having the discipline to keep up a routine to achieve that goal. That's what I'm always looking for.
No, 100%.
And my interviews are very are non-typical for sure.
Right, yeah, non-conventional. Those are the best stuff, because then you kind of get some context for who you're looking for. Because that's the thing. So again, going back to for context sake, I deal with a lot of students. So what I wanted to ask you about the education system, you went to an Ivy League school. I had a little bit of a different mentality, so I didn't go to an Ivy League school. So I thought, I'm going to try to build a bigger network online. That was my mentality going into it. But what's your advice to a student to find their passion and purpose without having to go into debt first? So what you find, I see personally, is a lot of students will put themselves into massive debt and then not get the job. And it was just kind of a bad attempt, because they didn't really want to become a doctor, or they didn't want to become a lawyer. What's your advice to those students to kind of figure it out before having to go invest that kind of money?
Mm-hmm. Well, first off, I went to Ivy School of Business,
Ivy School,
but I don't think that's the Ivy. It's an Ivy School, right?
Ivy School of
Business. So what advice would I give to a student that's about to incur a massive amount of debt, right? And so again, they're going to have to do some soul searching and try to figure out what they want to do, what's their passion, and do what you love to do. I wouldn't want them to go borrow a bunch of money in order to become a doctor just because, and make sure you're doing it for the right reason. You're not doing it to become a doctor because you want to make a whack of money and live on a lake like a doctors do.
Right.
And not all doctors do that, because to be a doctor or to be a lawyer or an engineer or a trader, you have to do it because you love it. And and if you truly are able to figure out what you want and love to do, then you would borrow that money, because it'll pay for itself back in spades. But make sure that you're clear. And if you can't figure that out, and unfortunately they got rid of grade 13, and some people can't make that decision until they're 25, then take your time and truly figure out what you love to do, because what you love to do will get you up in the morning, and it will consume you at nighttime, and then you will automatically be successful. And through hard work, not automatically, but you will more than likely be successful, and you will be able to pay off your debts, and because of your hard work. But the hard work comes because you do it because you love it, right? It's
big part of the process.
Yeah, guaranteed.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
I'm
trying to think of that book I read from Good to Great, I think.
I read the author's name.
Collins.
Is it Collins?
And didn't he say that you got to find something you love to do that you do for free, even though they're going to pay you. So find something that is that people will pay you to do, because no one can do it like you. And something that's meaningful. I think that's what it was. Because you get that combination, and you're working and you're getting paid for actually, you do it even without getting paid, and something that you're naturally good at. And so if you find something you're naturally good at, think of being like an unbelievable musician. You're good at it. You need to have an ear. You love doing it. Oh, and by the way, they're going to pay you to do something you love that you're so good at. The more you do it, the better you get. It's just an upward spiral. It's unbelievable.
Right.
And that could be if you're a musician. That could be if you're a hockey player, right? Like Sidney Crosby, I bet, loves to play hockey. But they pay him, and he's got natural skills, and they pay him well to play hockey. And so he loves it so much, and he has natural skills, so he plays it even more because he gets better. And they pay him, but he's going to do it even if they don't pay him, because it's fun to him. He's getting better while he's doing it, and he loves doing it. It's just that is your, that at the end of the day is what you're striving. That's your nirvana.
No,
That's
100%. I wanted to ask you, so everyone has mentor figures. Who were some of the mentors and influential figures that you looked up to while you were growing up that obviously are contributed to all of your success?
I'm going to go back to as far as I can remember, and I was in grade 2. And this is also like a lesson, right? And it was something my mom taught me. So I was asking my mom, who's this Napoleon guy? And my mom says, well, Napoleon was a man, but he almost conquered the world. And I couldn't register. And I look around, and everything I see, that's the world. Everything? And he says, yeah, he almost conquered the world. And he was not God. He was just a man. So if he could do it, so could you. So there's really nothing you can't do. You can conquer anything, provided you work hard enough at it, right? And you're not gonna, and that stuck with me forever. I will never forget that, because he's just a man. So that's why to this day, I take that with me everywhere, everything I do. The difference between doing it and not doing it is just doing it, right? And it's a matter of being proactive and pushing yourself, and anything is possible. And so I truly believe in that. And of course, it doesn't come easy, but you set your goals, and just like if you want to set a goal to bench 400 pounds, well, you're not going to put 400 pounds on a bar at once, right? But that's your goal, so you work at it, you push, and you work at it. So, and I've taken that with me forever, and to this day, I remember that story, and it's all about a function of how hard you work. Right. And I say that to people, and I go to church, and I ask for peace and humility, and I pray for things that I can't work for, health and love, right? There are certain things that you leave in God's hands, but I don't pray for money. Right. That is all a function of how hard you work and how smart you work, and that's a function of how committed you are to doing it. There's no, I'm not going to buy a lottery ticket and go to church. So pray for that. So I will never do that. So I've never done that. Only once when I was at, years back, and I was suffering from the perfect storm, and it was scary. And so I had 3 customers with, they each owed me $10 million, and I was, I'm always pushing the envelope. Right. And I'm overextended, and anyone could man a ship when the seas are calm. 100%. But when you're in a storm, man, it takes some skills. And let me tell you, it was the perfect storm. And I did not know how to collect that money. But you know what? I still had, there was like maybe 1,500 people working for us, and that payroll was going out the door every week. There was like a couple $1 million out the door in payroll. And if I'm not getting paid, and they weren't paying me for 6 months, I was at the end. There was no more oxygen in the tanks, and I didn't know what to do. And wow. I remember, and I was nervous, and I was frantic, and I remember praying to St. Jude for that. Right. St. Jude, help me. He's a patron saint of hopeless cases. Right. And when you're desperate. And I was the only time I ever did, because I was so distraught, and right. I didn't see an answer. And so I prayed to St. Jude, said, help me come out of this thing here. And I prayed with complete humility. Wow. And I went down to Toronto, one of these big companies. And I went in there, and I put, hat in hand with total humility. And I said to this big mining company, I said, I did a nice job for you. I should have just picked up my ball and gone home. I made some money. But you're in trouble. It was going into the winter time, and I thought we had a relationship. And you guys said, well, if you did that, why don't you come and do this one here for us too? Because I was helping them out of a jam. I'm always giving rather than taking. Mm-hmm. And I told them that. I said, I went in there and I helped you out, but it was a bigger winter we thought, or there was conditions I wasn't aware of. And then because of that, I was asked for money. The minute I asked for more money, they'd stop payment. Right. And I said, I can't go back in time. There's one thing I can't do. I can do anything, but I can't go back in time, and I can't change that. So I was so I told that to the president's company, and I said, and now you're not paying me, and I still pay my men, and I have not just the men, but their families are counting on my good decisions as a company, and so I'm pleading with you. I said, you need to release some funds, and I said it would be the equivalent of, driving down the road and see an accident. You jump out, there's a body on the shoulder, and you go out there, you give CPR. You save the person's life. The ambulance comes, takes away. Then the person sues you for breaking his rib, right? And I said, but I was humble about it and I was emotional about it because I'm feeling it right now. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, he said, give me half an hour.
Wow.
And then I was in Toronto in the Royal Bank building, and he came back in. And he said, Dario, he says, you know what? We believe you, and we're going to take care of our bill within a week. And they cut me like a check for $10 million in a week. And where'd that come from?
That's incredible.
I don't know where that came from, but let me tell you, that came from St. Jude.
No, 100%.
And so my promise to St. Jude was that I was going to wear this medal for the rest of my life.
Right.
And I did. So, and I will make that story known for the rest of my life because he held me up in my time when I most needed it. And my promise to St. Jude is that someday people think my KD is my final project. It's not. It's not. It's just yet another stepping stone to my final project. I promise St. Jude that someday I will build St. Jude, a home for the homeless and a place, to feed the homeless. People are less fortunate, because God has given me all these gifts, and I will use them to do something significant before I go meet him up at the pearly gates.
It's very incredible, honestly. You can feel it coming from your heart on that, Dario.
That's the only time I ever prayed.
No, 100%. No, yeah, that's funny.
Other than that, it just worked. Of course, from there, I also recognized, we live in a world of risks.
No, 100%.
Easy up on the gas pedal.
That's a good lesson to learn, especially that. How do you deal
We're all fallible. Well, do not think we're invincible. All of us, pride cometh before the fall. We need a lesson, and pride is not a good thing.
No,
humility, and
that's one of the biggest things. I want to ask. So I deal with a lot of corporate people, and you see in the corporate world, they kind of have their stature, and there's a lot of people that walk around with, a big ego. How do you deal with people like that? And I talk to some of the coaches I deal with as well, and to say, how do you break through that ego? Because I think that's one of the problems in the 21st century is everyone's walking around with it saying, oh, I got this title and this and that, but really at the end of the day, it matters how much you give and what are your results. How do you deal with some of those people when you come in, oh, I got a big ego?
Well, you can't change that. All you can do is change yourself. So all you can control is how you react to that. And so you don't, if someone's like that, you recognize, you acknowledge, you understand why. You can't fix it. He's made that way for whatever reason, right, for whatever divine reason. So you just accept it, don't engage. We get to choose who we do business with. We get to choose who we work with. We get to choose our friends, our families. Life is a choice, and choose those people that are not like that.
Oh, 100%. What's your biggest motivator at the end of the day? What do you find taking on all these projects? I know you said you're a man for the people. What is the biggest motivator when you wake up in the morning, you roll out of your bed? What is it that gets you out of bed and fires you up?
It's going to be that feeling of success, of accomplishing. I didn't go to school the business school thinking I was going to be a constructor of heavy industrial mine sites or power dams. I didn't go to school thinking I was going to a hockey team, right? Or build a KD. I didn't do that. So and that seems my passion. But the common denominator towards all of these are setting a goal and then working towards it. And I've always taken that approach in my business life. I should probably take that approach in a personal life. I don't have that balance, and I probably should. And I think I want to concentrate now I'm over the hill now, right? Well, not quite. I'm 55, so as long as I live to 110, then I'm at the crest. But at the end of the day, I should probably take the time and make, eating properly, sleeping properly, exercising properly, the one goal, as opposed to accomplishing, these goals I've set. But I've always been driven by those goals.
100%. How does it feel? You're obviously one of the most prominent figures in the city of Sudbury. You stepped into the spotlight. You became arguably the biggest name to come out of Sudbury right now. How does it feel to hold kind of the pressure and responsibility as that person and that public figure?
I don't feel it.
You know,
I don't feel it. I wear running shoes like everyone else.
Right.
I wear a set of jeans and a white shirt. I don't feel any different than anyone else. And
right.
I would imagine that everyone's got pressures and successes, and I truly I don't feel that about myself. I just don't. I just carry on and I shake everyone's hand, and I'm like we're all made the same.
100%. Do you ever plan on writing a book about to tell your story and have advice for anybody?
Never thought of it.
Right.
Never thought of it. I'm just hoping. I'm hoping that my children, I could teach my children these values.
100%.
Right? And with maybe a little bit more balance, but I do want them to have the hunger and know that anything is possible with that hunger and determination, and in succeeding, you're happy, right?
100%. I think that's actually one of the biggest things at the end of the day, where you see a lot of people, they feel unfulfilled. And that's one thing I really appreciate with you, that you're out there going for it. And those are the guys I'm always looking, guys and girls, to interview, to see what is it, that makes you tick at the end of the day. The other thing, one of my closing questions I wanted to ask you, so you have all these projects. What is the hardest part about your job, being Dario Zulich? You have so many facets to it, tests, the sports teams and everything. What is probably one of the most difficult parts?
Yeah, the hardest part is rising above the detail.
Right.
And I like detail. I can get consumed in detail because into a small little task I could just jump right into it and make it perfect. But nothing is perfect. And so I have to continually pull myself back and back and back to see a bigger picture, right? From one company to then 2 to 3 to 4 to more projects. And you have to delegate, and you have to make sure you see the bigger picture, and so you can't be that granular. And this morning at the Rotary Club, I put up a picture of an impressionist piece of art, and by Monet, I think. Right. And I wanted to let them know that everyone up close has got a pimple on their nose or a big pore or something, a hair sticking out of the ear up close, and everyone does. The prettiest girl in the world. I showed up a picture of Marilyn Monroe, and she has a mole. Right. And so, but you have to back up. You back up, and don't look at the details, but look at the bigger picture. And so with that picture, so I have a close-up shot of that painting. What it is. And the further it goes back, then you can make sense of it, especially impressionist art. Right. That's just a bunch of brushstrokes, and that's the beauty of that. And so the one thing I've been doing is I've been elevating bigger and bigger from a bigger picture, and I've been trying to just deal with bigger problems than the small little problems, and delegate out the small little problem down to people that were, that were to people that when I was their age, I was taking care of. Right? So the younger you are, the more detailed the problems you're going to figure out.
No, 100%. I think that's actually a great approach. The last question I'm going to ask you, do you have any advice for budgeting your time? I mean, you're extremely busy, and I said you're managing stuff. Do you do anything? Is there any kind of ritual or something you run through every day that primes you for your day to make sure you succeed and maximize it?
Yeah. So one of the things I've been doing recently is I've always planned on, this is what I want to get done by next year. That's the big, a goal setting. I'm going to get this done. I remember once when I wanted to open an office in Saskatoon, I remember I came back from a conference. I said, wow, Saskatoon is booming. I went back to the office. I said, listen to this, to everyone in the office. I said, we're going to open an office by September. I'm going to kill myself. It was something crazy, something idiotic, right? It was just to prove the point, because meaning I will do whatever it takes to open an office. That's a big, long, far-reaching goal. Right? That's a far-reaching goal, right? And so I try to put those kind of like fake pressures on a person, like if you really hacked it, you can get this done by this date. But it's just a matter of prioritization. But that's the big goal. And then that big goal requires a bunch of steps. And so I do regularly say to myself, okay, what am I going to get done this week? Right? And I'm going to say, my objective is just 2 big things. Like not big things, but two larger things. And then from here to the next week, I say, what do I get done tomorrow? If every day I do two things, one in the afternoon, that lead towards those two bigger things in a week. And I know that by the end of the week, that is a step to get to that goal that I put myself on, and I use crazy analogies. I use analogies all the time in the office, right? Someone says, I want to do it in enough time. And I said, if Tony Soprano came in right now and said, if you don't do this by that day, he'll come and blow your head off. You'll do it, right? But you can't wait for Tony Soprano to come to the office. It doesn't exist. You have to put that on yourself. And that's what I keep telling people. So that's what I do. So every day, just do one thing a day. And you know what? Time flows. Day goes after day goes after day. If you do one thing a day by Friday, you get 5 things done.
100%.
Right? And if you don't, by Friday you get nothing done. So and if and then you keep it one thing a day, 2 things a day. And so just check them out and then cross them off.
I like that 100%.
Put it down, cross them off. And there's that dopamine rush when you write something down and cross off.
Right.
Oh, I got it done.
That's like, yeah.
A to-do list. Everyone's got it, right?
Exactly.
How many times have we love that feeling of cross off done? How many times have you actually forgot to put something on your to-do list? You go and do it. So I'm going to go right on my list and then cross it off.
Right, exactly.
Right? So that sense of accomplishment, whether it be that small to the big thing.
No, I like that. That's actually a great perspective. I wanted to see that too because I'm always wondering. Like I said, I interview a lot of peak performers. I want to see what you do. But this is a bonus question, and this one's for fun. I had a lot of people ask me. We got to ask Dario, how many white dress shirts do you own? That's for fun. How many white dress shirts do you own?
I have, I think I have about 35.
35, yeah.
Because I'm not going to have one for every single day.
No, for sure.
Right? But I have about 35, and I wear a new one every day. And then I just throw them downstairs, and every couple of weeks I try to get the laundry done.
Right.
I do my own shirts. So I've got my own system at home to steam clean my shirts. You should see it it's on a hanger, and I got these bungee cords so that it's like spread eagle my shirt, and I can do my shirts pretty quickly. But I got over 30 shirts, and the reason why is because if I don't do it every 2 weeks, then I'll do it every 3 weeks. So I always have an inventory of shirts.
Oh no, 100%. That's gonna be my gift to you one day. I'm gonna get you a flashy dress shirt, like a full different for the white for one. That'll be my gift to you. That's my thing. I always wear flashy dress shirts.
No, I've always worn a white shirt and jeans from the construction. Not always. Hey, when I was at Zulich, I used to walk around with Monteleone's, Hugo Boss.
Oh, nice,
right?
Yeah.
But getting into the construction site, you can't walk around with dress pants.
Totally.
And you need work boots on and safety gear. And so you're going to wear jeans. And I found that I could wear jeans and talk all you want, but then when you get into a room, you're talking to an executive somewhere at one of these big mine sites, they're all wearing white shirts. So when I'm sitting at a boardroom table, if I have a white shirt, but even if I have jeans on, I'm playing the part.
100%.
So I said, white shirt and blue jeans, they don't go bad together. And so it's become my uniform.
100%. I like that.
And it's so simple. Every single morning, I don't really have to figure out what am I going to wear.
Right.
Right. And I like that.
Oh, no, that's good. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to have the opportunity to interview. You've done an incredible job. I'm excited to see all your projects come to life. I thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's going to happen. Thank you very much.
Oh, anytime. Thank you.